What's up, Cindy-Pals? We just saw not X-Men Dark Phoenix, just regular Dark Phoenix, because it had nothing to do with the X-Men. Oh, Jesus.
It was a piece of shit. I'll just give my one-sentence review. The movie felt like it was written by a 12-year-old. The directing and the great acting might have fooled some people, but let's be clear, this was a piece of crap, and it deserves its 21% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
What did you think, Mara?
You guys, I'm usually a hater, but I really like the movie. There's a lot of details that I want to criticize, but let's start with that. Ex-women comment. That was ridiculous. There was a part where Jessica Chastain's character was like, is that Luna? When clearly her dog was barking. And Jessica Chastain herself she looked kind of weird with blonde hair. There was a scene with their spaceship parking when in the middle of the road, and it's like, oh, well, okay, that's so, like, it's so hard to find parking anywhere in the world nowadays, and they're just like parking, hanging out, and there's no cars moving around. And then Magneto flying was just ridiculous. But anyway, I like the beginning a lot. And how they tied that into the climax. And I like the effects, actually. The script, like they said, is very cheap. But the acting was, they did their best, and I really liked it. I don't know. There was a lot of things I enjoyed about it. Like, there was a part where Jessica Chastain's character in the climax, she had the powers and she kind of channeled it and returned it to them. I like that. And I don't know, there was a lot about it I actually liked. Yeah, like I said, I'm usually a hater, but I don't know, I liked it.
There were so many parts where you could see that the dialogue was just filled in to give the absolute minimum amount of information. Like at one part, Magneto says to Beast, "If I see her, I'm gonna kill her." And he says, "I know." And it just cuts to the next scene. It's like at least write like, that's what I was hoping for. Or, well, if it comes to that, I don't know what, but just like to put, it's like the writer was just like, okay, I don't have anything to think of, so I'm just gonna put in I know, and I'll get back to that later and fix it. But he did that for the whole script. Like, if we didn't buy tickets today at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, that theater would have been empty. That's embarrassing for this movie. Like, let's be clear, this is a Marvel-ish movie. The fact that it's doing this bad is horrific. It's embarrassing.
I'm embarrassed.
Mike mentioned earlier that it felt like something he wrote when he was 12. I leaned over at one point and said to Becca, "Hey, I think they stole this from like how did they find what I wrote when I was 18?"
Jolie's 18-year-old fan fiction.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And like the plot is as thin as the paper it was copied on, and everything. Do you know what I will say about this movie? The music was fantastic. Obviously, Hans Zimmer. Yeah. Thank you for wasting the talents of a beautiful composer. The dialogue, it wasn't cheesy. It just wasn't anything. To hear Michael Fassbender deliver it the way he did was the only saving grace. Right. About like half of his lines. At one point, I thought that before they spoil it, I don't even care anymore. Before they killed Mystique, I thought it was just going to be one big dialogue battle between her and Xavier until they offed her. Like, it was just dialogue between those two about everything, and then just like side glances from the rest of the X team. And then the fact that they just offed Evan Peters at the beginning, and they didn't off him, they injured him, and he was rendered ineffective for the rest of the movie, when we all know we're all waiting to see like Quicksilver shots. Nothing. Other than that, I guess my summation is that these films are as old, shitty, and tired as me now. So immediately I was just dying the whole time to check and see who had written this hot garbage. And I was like, oh, Simon Kinberg. Oh, the brilliant man who wrote X3.
Who let this man write another shitty Dark Phoenix saga story? Why did they see X3 and went, who deserves another chance? The guy who made Wolverine a fucking pansy shit for brains. I don't understand. I don't get it. The whole time Jolie and I were laughing our asses off at some of the dialogue, how ridiculous it was. The best part of this movie is when Magneto pulls up a train car, an abandoned train car from underneath the ground, pulls up and then shoves it into a house while there's an empty double-decker bus behind him on the road. That's the best part of this movie. The entire movie is just me going, why would they do that when this is right there? Like, nobody was thinking about the sets when they made this movie. They were like, oh, just put them in, like, we'll put them in a kitchen, and we'll put them in a field. We'll put them, New York. That's a landmark. Like, none of it made any sense.
Simon Kinberg has been paid, I don't know, probably quite a substantial amount of money to adapt a very famous comic book story. Now, you may look down on comic books, Hollywood may look down on comic books, but that original story by Chris Claremont and John Byrne was 68,000 times better than this piece of shit, okay? And Hollywood has to get out of their head that they know better than the comics. They don't. Every time they substantially change a classic story, they fuck it up. The original story by Chris Claremont and John Byrne was so well thought out and richly developed and, deeply thematically, I don't even know what I'm talking about, but you get what I'm saying. It wasn't a masterpiece, but those two creators did their best work and they thought it out very carefully, and that story has resonated for 40 years. So let's just take all of that and just completely throw it out the window, completely throw out Jean Grey's arc, completely throw out what she did in the story. They introduced a new character that wasn't in the comic that contributes nothing to the story. Completely underdeveloped. She tried to explain the Phoenix. It made no sense what she said. It made absolutely no sense. Those aliens made no sense. They contributed nothing to the story other than just being characters for the X-Men to battle, right? Like,
Yeah,
I just thought I thought X3 was better than this movie.
Yep,
What did
I
you think?
agree.
I mean, yeah, Shadowcat was in that one, so. I love me some
Was X3 better or worse than this movie?
I like this movie, so sorry guys. I mean, I already heard that it was going to be bad, so I came in with expectations. So I think if you come in with these reviews in mind, you might just enjoy it a little bit more than you would if you came in with high expectations. But I did enjoy it, and I think I might be biased because I like Sophie Turner and Magneto and Raven, and them all within like one storyline that way. I liked it. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. So
Becca, what do you think about characters?
Nobody in this movie had a personality. It seems strange, except for finally Mystique. Actually, this was the movie that I liked her the most because it seems like they gave her a motivation. And in the other ones, it was like, I'm gonna do this because. And in this one, she's like, now I'm gonna do this because family. And it like worked a little bit better. But everyone else, Beast was a sham of a character. They had no idea what they were gonna do with him. He was just there to be blue, and it sucked because I loved his actor. Charles Xavier was a waste of time. Like, literally, he couldn't decide if he was good or bad or tortured or not. Like, Cyclops, his character is, I like my girlfriend, which is always a good way to go. Jean Grey had zero emotions, and then at the end of the story, it was her emotions that saved her, which didn't make sense because she had none in the whole movie. Quicksilver was in it. Also, Storm was also in it. And the only person ever doing it, Dazzler was in it.
Oh, Halston Sage, so beautiful.
God, that was such a cool shot. This movie does not deserve such a good shot as that. That was beautiful. Why couldn't I just have a whole movie of the kids partying in the woods?
You would have been nice if it would have showed her face up close.
Yeah, but then we have to pay her more. And then that would be another woman with a face in this movie. And we could only have 3 maximum, then we kill one, and then the other one doesn't have any lines because she's the person of color. Oops, did I say that? X-Men, what the fuck? You're supposed to be an allegory for minorities, and you have one minority in your movie, and you don't give her any lines besides like, oh, I'm the girl from the woods or from like the small part of town, and I give wisdom to the white guys. Like, I don't understand. You were an allegory for black people in the 60s, now you're an allegory for gay people. But you have none of these things on your team, and then you kill Darwin in First Class, and then Storm is useless in this one, and I'm just... Jolie and I were looking for Asian people, and we didn't find any.
Very disappointing.
Mara, do you recommend this film?
I mean, when I look at a movie, I do like look at the movie production as a whole, not just like who's in it. It's just very difficult to stay true to its roots when you try to... I don't know, if I am like a woman of color, obviously. Sometimes for me, though, they try too hard when they try to include everyone, which I am all for, by the way. But like Jolie said, there was a lot of Asians in the credits, which I love. But there's also a lot of other names or cultures and ethnicities in the credits, which, oh, it's so awesome to see.
Well, that's also
but
'cause they're
yeah.
farming out the cheap labor to Asia and South America. Right?
Well, I mean, I'm an entrepreneur and I do that, so I'm kind of like, I'm kind of guilty for that.
That to me, I forgot. You, like, farm
Outsourcing.
out your editing for comic books and get to India. That's right.
Outsourcing, if you're in the beginning, right? But adding to what Becca said, I agree with a lot of your points earlier. But I feel like a lot of it, maybe what they intended to do was that there was a lot of chaos in minds when you're dealing with death like that. I feel like even with Phoenix's character, she lost herself basically, and then she was on this journey of finding herself. And I feel like I resonated with this movie because I went through that journey and I'm going through it right now too often. So I don't know, maybe that's why I like the movie.
Okay, I do not recommend it. I'm sorry, Mara. Fox has been hit and miss with the X-Men movies. I like Logan, I like Deadpool, I like Days of Future Past. The rest I could do without. This movie is the quality of a superhero movie from like the early 2000s. I thought it was garbage. I'm glad it's failing.
What happens if you hit a toad with electricity?
God.
Do you remember that line?
She had a line in this movie that was almost as bad. It was like equal.
You mean the 3 things she said? She like Darth Mauled it. That's what
Yeah.
she said. She had 3 lines, and they were the
Where
best.
it's like, oh, you're gonna need to take care of her with your power storm. I know.
Yeah,
And then
that was it.
Oh,
my God, so
God.
bad.
Terrible.
Okay, so do you recommend it, Becca?
No. Do you like X-Men? Did you read Dark Phoenix? Did you care about cinema? Don't see it. Do you care about how hot Michael Fassbender is? Because oh boy.
Oh yeah, wide crew neck.
Like as soon as he showed up, I was like, oh, that's the hottest man I've ever seen for some reason. And it's just Michael Fassbender, and I know what he looks like, but I'm here for
Just
it.
watching him wince through those lines, it was like, what's going on right
I felt
now?
so bad for him.
So
Baby,
embarrassing for these guys.
come see me. I'll give you some good dialogue. Trust me.
I don't recommend it if you want to see a good X-Men movie, but I do recommend it if you do want to see really, really good special effects. Very great examples of how to pace slow motion shots around characters in fantastical situations, like an outdoor bonfire, Dazzler concert. That was really sweet. Also, every single shot with Storm in it was at the end, where she was using her actual powers the way they're meant to be. She was creating ice cubes. That's not her power. Anyway, I think
She was making hail.
Yeah,
she was
it's like,
making.
It's like-
yeah,
It's like she
controls
controls weather. She doesn't make ice. Like,
Yeah.
what the
But
fuck
I mean,
is
she was
this?
also making
Downgrade.
ice in space too.
Also, like, very well-directed, choreographed, well-paced fight scenes, except for I feel like at the end they used all of the stunt people to play the aliens. So those are really good examples of what this movie did very well. The actors did a very good job of hiding the fact that the dialogue in the script was terrible. Unfortunately, I can't recommend it. It's hot garbage.
Hi, I'm the 21% on Rotten Tomatoes, maybe 21.1 now. That was really. Please don't zoom in. You want to take it up?
I can't get it.
Love it. Love it.
I'm just gonna move the camera again, and then.
Julie, you're not shitty. Or old. Or tired.
I was gonna say, but I'm really fucking tired, so.
I guess that's it. You can just take us out then, Becca. What's your final word?